Wow, I messed up. Okay, let's try it again. Hello YouTube, this is me Bree at 135 and I'm back with another video. So one thing I wanted to touch on, well, I guess touch on is not the right word. One thing that has happened to me that will happen to a lot of you who are staying in Japan and unfortunately live in the countryside is that we have to get our Japanese license. Yay! So if you all didn't know, or if you do know, an international permit, which is what you get before you leave the States, is only valid for 1 year. So after that year is up, you cannot go back to the States and think you're going to get a new international permit and then come back and everything's dandy. You only have 1 year in Japan while you're in Japan to use your international permit, and then after that you have to go get your Japanese license. But of course things can't be easy because, you know, you're in a foreign country, you don't speak the language. Even if you did speak the language, Japan is just a difficult country to navigate, which I'll touch on later. And so because of that, there is multiple processes for those of you who unfortunately have to take tests to get your license. Now there is a split up between countries of which have to take a written and driver's test while taking your license, and those who only have to take the written portion. So if you're a lucky American like I am, then you unfortunately need to take the written and the driving test. So and the reasoning for that is pretty simple. In the US there's 50 states, and so each state has a different driving regulation. I think that might be the right word. So yeah, each state has a different, or can have different procedures in order to obtain your license, even though it's pretty standard. You take a written test, you take a driving test. You know, things basically vary from state to state. And so in order to combat that, Japan's like, you know what, let's just have them when they come here, they can chill out for the year, but then after that, they're gonna have to take it here. Yeah. And so actually each prefecture in Japan has their own prefectural agency that you have to go to. So basically it's just like in the US, if it was split up in between like the Midwest, the East Coast, the West Coast, and the South, and each one has their standard that is set for that entire region. So if you all didn't know, I live in Hyogo-ken, which is located here. And so because of that, I have to take the test, obviously, in my prefecture, which is Hyogo. So now on to the things that matter. You're gonna have to get some paperwork ready before you actually go and even try to attempt to take the license. So I'm gonna tell you the materials that you need in order to be successful and not be turned back to go home when you arrive at the driving center. So for one, you're gonna need your passport. That's very important. Well, for obvious reasons, to prove that, you know, you have a, what do you call that piece of paper in the, a visa. So one, they gotta make sure that you're in the country legally, how long you're gonna be here, and, you know, just to make sure that, you know, you're not bumbling around. So for one, you're gonna need your passport. After you obtain your passport, after you have your passport, the next thing you're gonna need is your gaijin card, which is this right here. And so basically, like the passport, this gaijin card says, hey, you know what, this person lives in Japan, and yeah, they're here. So next, after you obtain the passport and the gaijin card, which you should already have if you're living here or going to live here, the next thing that you're gonna need is your translation of your license. So basically it looks like this, and basically this paper is exactly what it says. I really don't understand why they have it, but I think it's basically like an official document saying like, okay, this person actually drove in the States, and so here's the license. here's the translation of what their license is saying. And the next thing you're gonna need is a green sheet of paper, which is basically, and this is optional, but for me I brought it because I like to be safe. So basically this green sheet of paper is stating, again, your residency in the township or city that you live. And if you come to Japan and if you live in Japan, you have to obviously register at City Hall. So you all should have this sheet of paper. After that, you will need, what else do you need? And yeah, I think that's it. I'll list them there if there's anything else that I'm missing at this moment because I don't have my paper with me. So once you have all of those lovely materials, the next thing you're gonna do is Google where to go to take your license. So after you obtain all your documents and you're gonna go on a little road trip, yay! And then you're gonna arrive at the driving center. Once you arrive, you're going to go to this place right here. Now, this sign basically loosely translates to, and I don't know Japanese that well, but I saw foreigner. So, you know, to me that's like, okay, gotta go here. And I don't know, this might vary from prefecture to prefecture, but in Akashi specifically, all the foreigners, they take the test at the same time and there's like a special area designated for us. So you're gonna go to that area and you're going to take a number and you're gonna wait. And because things seem to be more inconvenient here, you're gonna be waiting for a while. So after you take your number's called, they're gonna come call you in, and there's some specifics that they're gonna do. First of all, they're gonna look over all of the documents that you have brought to make sure that you have everything in place and in order. I unfortunately ran into a little mishap because I'm from Illinois and they recently changed the license design, I guess you could say. So every license after 2016 looks a certain way and everything before 2016 looks another way, which I'll put right here. And so because of that, I brought in my license and they were like, is this fake? No, of course not. Basically, I spent 30 minutes trying to find a source to prove to them that my license was not fake. I do understand that they need to make sure and have precautions, but for me, it was just inconvenient as hell because I'm just sitting there like, yo, so is there anybody you can call? Once they check and make sure you have all of your materials together, the next thing that you're going to do is fill out some paperwork with basically your address, phone number, things like that, which if you have a good enough officer or office worker in there with you, they'll fill it out for you. Of course, the camera gonna cut off on me. So let's try this again. So as I mentioned, my Japanese speaking and writing skills aren't that great, so I had the officer fill out everything for me. And then afterwards, I had to go take some photos. Now, these photos, I don't really understand why we had to, but basically, he was like, okay, go take some photos. And I was like, okay. And after that, you're gonna pay some money. Basically, I'm guessing these are just like handling fees and whatnot to just say like, oh, like you got all your paperwork in order. You know, people, they gotta get paid to understand. So you're gonna do is a seeing test. And the seeing test basically consists of you, basically, if, you know, in the States, when you go get your eyes checked, you have to read certain things, left, right, up, down, things like that. So for me, there's like a little circle thing and I had to say like, oh, if it's facing left, or like, no, it was actually the letter C. And so I had to say, oh, if it's facing left or right or up or down. And in that, I had to use Japanese, which I know those words. So for left, it is hirari. So when the C points left, I say, oh, hirari. The C obviously pointed to the right, I said migi. Then up, so if the C is facing this way, kind of like a U, you say ue. If it's facing down, you say shita. So migi or migi, hirari, ue, shita. And after that, I also did a brief color test. And basically you say what color you see in the little binocular thing. And for those, well, again, you have to know the colors in Japanese. And basically, there's only 3 colors, which I guess makes sense if you're taking a driver's test. It was the color blue, yellow, and green, yellow, and red, which of course correlates with the stoplight. So for green, when I saw the green color, green in Japanese is midori. If I saw yellow, I said keto. I think it's keto. And if I saw the color red. Red is, what is it? Aka. Well, I said close enough and he understood. And all of this, keep in mind, took maybe about 5 minutes. And so after I finished my vision test, then I went over and I had a short interview with this officer. And basically this interview consisted of, you know, what I did in the States, how I got my license in the States and things like that. So these are some questions you might come across. One question he's maybe going to ask you is, at what age you obtained your license? Oh, my Japanese isn't that great, but I was able to make out nansai desu ka. So nansai means what age, roughly, or how old. And for me, I started driving at 16, and so he was like, oh, okay, cool. How I got my license. And I told him at first I did a written test and then a driving test. And from there, you have to tell him, okay, was your written test true or false? True or false in Japanese is maru batsu. I'm probably butchering this, but he understood. Maru batsu. And so when I heard those words, I was like, oh, hi, so desu, or yes, that's correct. I did a true and false test, and then afterwards I drove. And then after that, he's going to ask, okay, well, where did you drive? Did you drive on a obstacle course, or did you drive on the actual road? And then I told him, you know, the latter. I drove on the actual road. And then he's going to ask you about the driving instructor, what his occupation was. I believe my driving instructor was a retired vet, so I just said Army, and he understood. And the last question I think I got was MT or AT. MT is manual, AT is automatic. So basically from those words I kind of guess, okay, he's asking what type of license do I want? Do I want to, and how would I like to take the test? Would I like to take it manually or automatic? And after that, he wrote down some more things, and then we went on to the written test. Now the written test, I don't know how it's going to be in different prefectures, but I can only tell you about Hyogo and specifically Akashi. So for the written test, it's going to be comprised of 10 questions, and they're all pulled randomly. So, but they're basically common sense questions. Because they are pulled randomly, I can't guarantee that these questions are going to be on your quiz or on your test, but they can kind of give you a hint of what to do. So some of the questions include, okay, if it's a yellow light, are you supposed to speed up or slow down? Of course, we think, okay, yeah, it's good to speed up, but in Japan, and the way, you know, just think as if you were a grandma and how would you want to drive. Another question is, okay, can you turn on left? Because you're on the opposite side of the road here, and when it's on a red light. So when it's a red light, can you turn left? And in here it's illegal to turn left even on a red light, so I said no, can't do it. And another question was asking, okay, if there's an ambulance, should you let it pass or should you keep driving? Which obviously you're supposed to pull over somewhere, pull over to the nearest point and then let them pass. So basically it's common sense questions. If you pass your driving quiz the first time in the States, you'll be sure to do it again here. It's very easy. But beware because the questions are translated, I believe, from Japanese. So a lot of the times the English there is very, very funny. So kind of don't take things too literal and kind of think about the question or what it's intending to ask. So after I took the quiz, they're going to send you out. They're going to send you to another window or a different place in the driving center. And basically you're going to schedule to take your driving exam. Depending on your location and how busy it is, you can either take it that same day or have to schedule it for a few days later. Or in my case, you have to schedule it like a week and some change later. So yeah, that was it. I'm going for my driver's test actually on Monday, so I will report back. I don't know if that's right. But for now, that is what you can partially expect when you go for the driver's lesson. If you can, ask your Board of Education for special leave if you are specifically a jet. Not all prefectures grant special leave, and special leave is different than NINQ, which if you're a jet, then you know what I'm talking about, which is basically paid leave. But yeah, make sure to ask your board or your boss, whoever you talk to, not your principal, but like the other people in charge of you, if there is special leave to take your license. Because if not, be prepared to use some of your days off for the year, which I personally didn't want to do, but luckily they came through. All right, I'm tired. I've talked so much. Hopefully I was able to help somebody who is potentially going through the same thing or will go through this in the future. So for now, I wish you good luck. You cut off on me again. And if you have any tips or tricks to help future people or even myself pass the driving test, or any other things to add about the written and the interview test, which is the first part 1 basically, then please put them down in the comments below. Well, that is it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helps somebody. And until next time, next week it'll be the results of the driving test, which hopefully I won't fail. I'm glad I can pray, knock on wood and everything. Talk to Jesus for a while. Hopefully I pass this thing, because I really don't want to drive back to Akashi. This has been me, Bree, at 135. So, see ya!